And then Tatum, obviously, it's concerning. No bone bruise. Hopefully he'll be okay for the next game. But I mean, we've seen Tatum this season. He seems like he wants to lay it all out for the fans, and he seems like he has that mentality of not letting injuries get to him. So hopefully this injury is the same.
Yeah.
It's game one, and we've already reached a state of chaos already. Game one of the NBA playoffs. Can we just see nobody on the injury report for 5 minutes? 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Game one, I can't lie. At the beginning of game one, I didn't like the way in which the Celtics were playing whatsoever because they were playing 100% into the Magic's hands. What the Magic have to do in order to win this series is slow the pace of the game, grab every offensive rebound attempt possible, grab every defensive rebound, and they also need to force turnovers themselves, get to the free throw line, and win within all of the little margins on the floor. That's what the Magic need to do in order to win this series. They need to win all of the hustle stats, all of the extra categories in which gets them more shots than the Celtics while also keeping the Celtics shot attempts low. Game one, the Magic executed that perfectly in the first quarter. Now, the Celtics came out with a lead after one, but you saw it was a tough fight. I mean, it was going back and forth for most of the quarter. Celtics started to pull away at the end, but it was a tough fight. And then at the end of the first half, the Magic eventually come back and grab that 1 point lead before the Celtics turn it up to a new level in that third quarter and fourth quarter to close out the game. Now, I expect the Celtics to play how they did in the third and fourth quarter throughout most of the series. And I think how game one went was how many of these games are going to go. I think it's going to be the Magic. They're going to be physical, tough early on, but we're going to see the Celtics sprint past the Magic as these games go along. Because the Magic, look, 86 points in game one. The Celtics, they only score 103. 103, that's it. And they still defeat the Magic by 17. It's going to take a really awkward game for the Orlando Magic in order to win this, not the series, but just a game in the series. And when I say awkward, I mean unconventional, right? They're going to have to win it in a way in which the variance tilts in their favor. They make a bunch of 3 pointers randomly, they make a bunch of shots that they don't typically make, and they win the ball game. Otherwise, the Celtics are just going to simply outscore the Magic every single game this series, which is why Franco and I came on here and went Celtics in four. We seem like total homers, but breaking down the series, like, well, the Magic, are they going to score over 100 points in any of these games and defeat the Celtics in any of these games? Like, I don't really know. That being said, Jayson Tatum, he is now doubtful for game two, which means he will probably not play, which certainly changes the complexity of the series a little bit because coming into the series, what's what's so terrible is before the series I was talking about Jayson Tatum, he is the X factor of the series because if you look at the 1-2 record from the regular season, the Orlando Magic in those two games in which they defeated the Celtics did not have Jayson Tatum. No, not on December 23rd, down in Orlando, or this past week. Obviously, the top six, or 2 weeks ago, I should say now, that the top six wasn't in the rotation. That to me signals how big Jayson Tatum is for the Boston Celtics, among many other things within his game. But just the fact that you play two games against the Magic on the road, you struggle in both of them because of the Magic's high level of defense, and you don't have your superstar. The Celtics are going to run into the same problem again tonight at the Garden. Jaylen Brown's going to have to do a lot more. There's going to be more pressure on Jaylen Brown, period, in this game. And that worries me because Jaylen Brown, this was supposed to be kind of a you go out there and float type of series for him and don't,
Yeah.
ramp up the minutes with Jaylen Brown because we know he's dealing with that knee injury. Well, now the complexity changes from that regard because you're giving Jaylen Brown more responsibility if you're Joe Mazzulla and the coaching staff now that Jayson Tatum's out of the lineup. And that changes the whole dynamic of the game, both for the Celtics and the Magic, and how the Magic, particularly, are how they're defending the Celtics. And so, moving forward in this series, I do think we have, some. From what we saw in Game One, I would say that's typically how the series or most games in this series should go. That being said, with Tatum out of the lineup, you could see a little bit of a change within that. And the Celtics, we've been talking about it this season, their margin for error is a little slimmer than it was last year. And by a little, I think a lot compared to last year, looking at some of the teams out in the Eastern Conference and particularly the Western Conference, if the Celtics make it to the finals. This Tatum injury, it's causing pure chaos. Like, people are kind of, they're kind of more optimistic. They're calm about it. But I'm sorry, I just saw Jayson Tatum fall on his wrist. It's not like an injury we just hear about where, JB's injury, we started hearing about it. It's like, oh, his knee, sore knee. It's like, when did that happen? We don't really know. Jayson Tatum, we saw Jayson Tatum take a hard fall on his wrist. And yep, there's the photo right there. Jayson Tatum holding his wrist and staying down on the ground for quite some time. Then you have Joe Mazzulla over on the sideline yelling, "Get up," which is just.
Can I interrupt? And then you have like the medical staff about going over, and he's like, "No, get back!" Like, he's like, "No, stay away." He's like, "Get up, come on!" Like, that's what I love about Joe Mazzulla, because come on, this is gonna start some controversy in here, I feel like. But finish your take. I'll give you my take, and then we'll dive right into the Tatum thing, because
You left us on a cliffhanger there.
Yeah, I know. But this might start something. I'm saying. I don't want to say it yet. Continue your take.
Well,
Seamus.
I don't know why it's why Joe Mazzulla's like get up thing is such a talking point. It's like, this man, if you've really been paying attention to him all season, he's been a psycho all year. He was a psycho coming into this season, and he's not going to stop being a psycho at the most intense time of year. Like, that's just not going to happen. And that's what we saw in game 1 from Joe Mazzulla. But that whole incident happens, of course. And to me, it's like, yeah, this is causing utter chaos, because half the fan base like, oh, he's fine, he's fine, he's fine. Joe Mazzulla, he's hiding it within his press conference. Like, he's not really direct. Obviously, coaches and players, they don't directly tell the media anything anymore. But Joe Mazzulla, if you watch his press conference yesterday, he knew about Jayson Tatum's injury, and even after game 1, it's like there was some level of concern there. It was, there's a lot of virtue signaling within the injury report and press conferences. You don't get anything direct, but you could just kind of put the pieces together, add the equation, and get the answer. And that's what's happening with this Jayson Tatum injury. I think it's I personally, bone bruise, like, that's another term where I look at it and go, we don't really know anything. It's like an impingement or a contusion, or it's like a bruise. What we do know is it's not broken. That's great. That's the most optimistic silver lining point there. But still, a bone bruise still is going to affect how he's able to handle the ball, how he's able to shoot, and potentially how the Celtics utilize Jayson Tatum moving forward in this series. They could be utilizing Jayson Tatum more as a decoy and somebody who goes down towards the rim more often than not. So it's going to be looking at Jayson Tatum. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what he looks like in the next game he appears in, and how much time he could potentially miss, because he's doubtful tonight, which I would say the virtue signaling there is definitely not playing tonight, but we believe he's going to play in game 3 or game 4 into the future. That's the thing about this wrist injury. It's not anything with Tatum's ankles, knees, anything on his legs. He's still able to run up and down the floor, still able to play defense. It's just offensively, what is Tatum? How is he going to look with that wrist injury? What kind of pain tolerance can Tatum actually fight through? And where how much can this affect his game potentially in the future? And that's beyond just the first round. It's like, say, first round, say we make it out just fine. What is Tatum going to feel like second, third, fourth round? I'll say this. I'm a little more optimistic about Tatum's injury than I was Brown's, because Brown's is a knee. It's something he has to utilize in order to move around the court, side to side, vertically. Whereas Jayson Tatum, it's his wrist. It's like he can still play the entirety of the playoffs on a bum wrist. Jaylen Brown can't play the entirety of the playoffs on a bum knee. There's a difference there. But Jayson Tatum, we know how effective he is as a scorer, as a playmaker, as a player with the ball in his hands. And if that's stripped away from himself, the value of Jayson Tatum certainly goes down. It's still there, even though his wrist is injured. However, his value goes down significantly. And I think this talking point within the series is huge all of a sudden, because it's game 1, like game 1 of the NBA playoffs, and we're already talking about Jayson Tatum, our superstar MVP candidate. He's probably not going to play game 2. We don't know about game 3. And we simply don't know about his status altogether other than just a bone bruise, which we don't know how serious that is or what the pain is in Jayson Tatum's wrist or what the mobility is in his wrist. And I got to say, I don't want to go complete catastrophe mode disaster, but these are the type of things that 100% wipe out playoff runs. Look at last year, the Miami Heat. They missed Jimmy Butler on the floor. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they missed Donovan Mitchell. Even the Celtics, they missed
Seamus, yeah,
Kristaps
I'm doing
Porzingis.
it.
Round 3, no Tyrese Halliburton. Round 4, the Dallas, to me, it's like, Dallas wasn't really missing anybody.
Seamus, you're scaring
But
me. If
Luka
you're not-
Doncic was apparently injured in that series after game 1, after he got beat in game 1, literally physically beat up in game 1. It's like, oh, he's injured. But you see these injuries 100% derail playoffs, a playoff pursuit towards the title for a lot of teams. And the fact the Celtics are already dealing with an injury to their top star while also dealing with an injury for their second star on the roster, the top two pillars of the roster, knee injury, wrist injury. It's like, these are the things we obviously know from 2009 Kevin Garnett. And I'm trying to think of more I feel like I had a better example of a playoff injury, even more so than Kevin Garnett as of late. That I'm trying to mine out of my mind. I know we had Marcus Smart injuries in the playoffs, but I don't know if that went quite as far. Regardless, yeah, Kyrie, Gordon Hayward,
Kyrie,
right, yeah. But you look at all the history and these injuries in history, they have the potential to just wipe out playoff series. I mean, Derrick Rose in 2012, he tears his ACL, and the Bulls go from a 1 seed to somebody who's losing in the first round to an 8 seed Sixers team before the Celtics and Sixers face off in the semifinals that year. That's just what happens in NBA history. If you don't have your best players out there on the floor in the most important moments of the season, probably not going to have the greatest chance to win against a team who does have the best players out there. And that's why this injury is so concerning it should be so concerning for everybody in Celtics Nation and the Celtics themselves. I'm not going to go full catastrophe mode and say it's going to end the playoff run and we're facing something serious with Jayson Tatum, but it's something, again, we have to monitor. And I'll say this, for as great as game 1 was, winning by 17, running ahead in the second half, creating that sea of green, and overcoming the Magic from a game plan perspective, schematic perspective. Even after all the great things in game 1, coming out of game 1, I'm going, really, already. Game 2, we're going into game 2 without Jayson Tatum. Already. It's like you can't, sometimes you can't even write this stuff up, but it seems to happen to the Celtics, and it happens to every team we know out there. It's not like the Celtics are bit with bad luck, as some of these other teams have been in the past. I mean, it's just about equal, but we have seen this in Celtics history before. I mean, Gordon Hayward in that Sixers series in the bubble pretty much does the same thing. Last year, Kristaps Porzingis pretty much does the same thing. After game 2, he's done. After game 1, Gordon Hayward's done. So we've been through this before. The only difference is it's been with our third option, our fourth option. This is the first option for the Celtics and Jayson Tatum. And we have to remind ourselves too, Jaylen Brown, he's injured as well. And that just, to me, changes so many things for both the C's and the Magic in this series. I still expect the Celtics to win the series. I still expect them to handle the series. But now I do believe with Jayson Tatum, however many games he's going to miss, the Magic have 100% more of an opportunity to steal a game with Jayson Tatum out of the lineup versus when he's actually in the lineup. They put so much pressure on him on Sunday, where to the point where Jayson Tatum wasn't effective. Now his playmaking wasn't necessarily where we've seen it this season on Sunday. But at the same time, the Magic were hounding Tatum, and that was leaving guys like Peyton Pritchard and Derek White open. Derek White, 30 points, Peyton Pritchard, 19 points. Now, without Jayson Tatum out there, the gravity of Jayson Tatum, like, there's going to be more pressure put on Brown, more pressure put on White and Pritchard and everybody else out on the floor, even Porzingis, who didn't have a great game 1. And so that definitely changes the complexity of the series as a whole. I'm feeling great about the win in game 1. Gotta feel great about a playoff win anytime, but the way we exited the game, where Jayson Tatum not 100% healthy, Brown not 100% healthy, I'm looking at this playoff run already going, really? Like, first 2 games, like we played healthy games throughout the stretch of the season, and obviously Porzingis and whoever missed time in between, and whether they were resting or actually ill or whatever happened there. But it's like, come on, we were just healthy the whole second half of the season, and now all of a sudden to the top two stars. If this was an injury to guys like Peyton Pritchard or somebody like, I don't know, every player on the Celtics rotation, because it's so thin, is pretty important. But like if it's Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, I don't think it's as big as Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, and that's what the Celtics are dealing with right now. Injuries to their top two stars already in this playoff run already. And I don't want to go full catastrophe mode on it, but at the same time, you gotta be a little concerned at this point in time because there's a lot of basketball left to be played and not a lot of time to rest. This is going to be the first time the Celtics have 2 days rest until potentially when we're done with this series. We're playing 3 games, 4 games maybe. Celtics are done with the series. They'll have a couple days of rest, and then they'll be going back into it yet again every other day. And this is the most intense basketball they'll see all season, and it has to bring some concerns to Celtics Nation and everybody involved with everything. That being said, I think people still have some optimism that, once round 2, once round 3 comes along, maybe that wrist will be a little bit better. Maybe that knee will be a little bit better, and the Celtics will be back on track.
Yeah, I want to say this. As you said, Tatum's doubtful for today. I'll dive into that for a second in a minute. But one thing I do have to say, in addition to your first take, is I thought the Celtics played at a fast pace to start off the game. I don't know if you guys agree, but like from what I was seeing, they were like, it looked like playoff basketball. Yes, the Celtics weren't dominating to the speed that they want to, and the Magic were getting a lot of rebounds and just kind of dictating the pace from that perspective. But I like the physical and intense playoff basketball that they were doing. They were running, they were quick. However, that first quarter is the take I've been saying. It's gonna look like a Pacers series if they keep playing at that pace and letting the Magic play with them. Um, Overall, though, I thought game 1 was a good win. But you look at this, like you have mentioned already, Seamus. We'll hear your guys' takes, Andrew and David. We'll hear your guys' takes too. But it's concerning. I feel like this. I feel like a lot of people, you'll have mixed opinions about Joe Mazzulla's reaction and telling him, get up, come on, and waving off of the trainer. You guys heard it. He's doubtful for today, and that's huge. And he was in physical pain. We saw him in the pain that he was in, which makes me a little. This is why I'm kind of like, what? Because his ankle pretty much snapped against Sabonis. Like you guys remember that game? His ankle like went, and that's concerning. Like he was on the ground, but then you look and he jammed his wrist and he's like laying on the ground hurt. I want to get into a segment too and hear Andrew basketball perspective and see if you've had an injury like this or like what if you've dealt with a teammate that went through this or something. But I'm concerned. I am concerned for sure, like Seamus, but I'm not gonna get into that. This is the reason why it could cause things because I'm not putting that bad energy in the air. We gotta stay positive. I think I feel like they might have him sit today, and if the Magic get one, it probably will be today if they do sit him. Um, I think that because I think this could go to a 5-game series. I want it to go to 4. I want the sweep, and I'm gonna keep preaching a sweep. But yeah, I think this is a game where you need Tatum. I mean, Tatum is your superstar. Tatum is the best player on this Boston Celtics team, whether you like it or not. There's a lot of assets that help this Boston Celtics team become so great. But Tatum is your superstar. Tatum is that person at the top. Tatum is your Messi. Tatum is your Ronaldo. He's the guy. He's your LeBron James. I am glazing Tatum right now, but that's where he is. He's at this level. You need Tatum to play. I mean, it's a series where, yes, this is one of the top. I feel like we talked about this yesterday with Cortez. This is kind of like a series where it's an annoying one, you know? It's a series where the Magic healthy are a 3 or 4 team. It's not an easy first round. I do not like playing the Magic. I don't want to hear that damn song all playoffs. If you guys know. Go watch Cortez interview. I do not want to hear that damn song. But I'm so interested to hear your guys' perspective. But I also wanted to add one conspiracy. Could this potentially, I said it with Seamus, could this potentially be like, I don't know, a little egged on? I don't know. I don't know. But David, what are your thoughts? And then Andrew, I want to hear your thoughts really quick.
Can you clarify what you mean by egged on first? I'm interested by this.
So I'm not big on this, but you have to admit, it looked like he jammed his wrist, correct? Did it not look like he jammed his wrist in the basket? Right?
Yeah.
Now that could go with a break. That could totally, if he hits it hard enough, could be a break. But I get it because I've dealt with wrist injuries. Like when I played baseball, someone threw a baseball off my wrist and it hurt. Like you couldn't play baseball. But I think it's his shooting wrist, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Shooting wrist. All right. So that's tough, especially have tape on it. All right, Andrew, really quick, give us a basketball breakdown, and David, we'll go right into you. Have you dealt with something like this, or has there been?
Personally, no, but one of my teammates 2 years ago, he had some ligaments in his wrists that were actually like torn. He suffered it at the beginning of the season, and he went on to play every game. They just threw. I don't know if you guys are familiar with KT tape. It just kind of acts as like another, like kind of form of ligament, and it kind of holds the wrist better in place. So he was able to go through the season and ended up. It was also on his shooting hand, and ended up being able to lead us to a conference championship. So when it comes down to it, a lot of it is, like Seamus mentioned, your pain tolerance. Like how strong are you that you're going to be able to withstand the pain and fight through it. He obviously could, and he did mention though that it was painful throughout the entire season. He tried his best to not really show it, and help the team along, but there's plenty of ways to deal with it and find ways to make an impact on the floor than just scoring. But obviously Tatum is our guy. He's our scorer. He pours in the points, and that's what we need him for. But yeah, I mean, there are plenty of ways to deal with it, and if it is just a bone bruise, it does seem that it's more of a pain tolerance thing for him. So it really comes down to his mentality and what he can push through.
Yeah, David, I'm curious to hear your thoughts now, and then we'll go back to you, Andrew, to wrap it up, and then but David.
Yeah, so I'll take it back to like my first initial reaction, just seeing what happened. Seeing it live was definitely not something I had on my bucket list of seeing during a playoff game that I was going to. You definitely don't want to see your franchise player on the ground. First reaction when all that was happening was, okay, this is, to be brutally honest, just Tatum being typical Tatum, taking a little bit longer to get up. And then it's like, okay, maybe he's milking it a little bit too much. And then it's like, okay, I really need Tatum to get up now because, sometimes love Jayson Tatum, obviously the face of the franchise, as I just said. But sometimes I feel like on plays like that, he takes a little bit too long to get up and then he just gets up and it's like, okay, everything's fine. But when I saw him on the ground, whatever it was, I think there was at least 5 minutes, at least that's what it felt like. Definitely got a little bit nervous. And then you hear after the game, I probably should have thought of it like this, but I didn't think anything of it when he said he's going to be fine and left it just like that because I'm like, I didn't even think of how short Jayson Tatum was being with the media. And this is a great point I saw online where usually when it comes to stuff like that, I don't know if Tatum necessarily likes talking to the media, but he usually does a good job of giving good answers when he's at the podium about things going on. So he was short with the media when talking about the injury. Missoula said that the x-ray came back clean, which obviously I thought was a good sign. And then I went from x-rays clean, as Seamus said, to day to now he's doubtful. So, yeah, definitely the red flags are popping up for me. We will see what happens in terms of availability for the rest of the series and the playoff run moving forward. I think it's definitely which sucks with me going to this game again. I want to see Tatum play. I don't expect to see him play tonight. I think tonight is going to be very interesting to see how we manage him moving forward, because I think the expectation is that, whether the Celtics want to admit this or not, they probably, I mean, obviously they go into every game thinking they're going to win, but it's very hard to sweep a 4 out of 7 playoff series. So I think there's some expectation where it'll be okay for the Celtics to drop one game. With that being said, though, this is a very precarious situation for the Celtics to be in, where if they were to lose the game tonight, it's not we lose tonight and we're still up 2-1. We lose tonight, we're all tied up at one game apiece going back to Orlando. So I think if we're able to win tonight without Tatum, which would be huge, I would think personally we should still rest him for game 3, because even if we lose game 3, there's the whole, okay, we went on the road team back at home has a huge burst of energy, plus we were missing our best player. Not too much will be thought about if we go up 2-0 hypothetically and lose a game 3. But if we lose tonight and it's 1-1, as I said in my first take, I think the pressure is on Tatum a little bit more to push him to be ready for game 3. Now, I think regardless, he's going to try and push to do playing game 3. We've seen this movie before, literally last month with the whole situation with his ankle. But I hope if we're able to win tonight, we keep him out for game 3, and then that'll give him a whole week's worth of rest for game 4, which is coming up on Sunday. So I honestly think what happens tonight, the end result tonight, is going to be huge in determining how this injury is managed with Tatum moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that too, Griffin. When you say egg on, I mean Jayson Tatum last month he came down on that ankle in Sacramento. Yeah, he's down writhing in pain on the floor, and we feel like, oh, geez, high ankle sprain, he's out a month. Oh, geez,
Yeah.
Jayson Tatum, he's going to miss the rest of the season, the final 10 games. Well, that didn't happen. He missed one game, that Phoenix Suns game where the Celtics blew out the Suns by 30. Right there and then, there were a million points in the season where you could say the Suns season was over, but truthfully, without Jayson Tatum that night, it's like, yeah, the Suns, they're done. But that occasion happens and Jayson Tatum comes back the next night. So from that standpoint, that's a regular season game down the stretch where Celtics are nearly locked into the 2 seed. They're trying to stay healthy. Those were the 2 main goals of the second half of the season. Maintain the 2 seed, stay healthy, and then you could add a third is play well going into the playoffs. And the Celtics did all of that. And now all of a sudden Jayson Tatum's injured again. I really don't think. See, this injury to me is the reason it's concerning here. If Jayson Tatum wasn't injured, he'd be playing in the playoffs right now. 100%. There is no. I don't see a mentality within Jayson Tatum that wants to sit out. I think actually today's game, he might actually want to play this game too. And the medical staff knows, hey, look, it's a series. David, you already mentioned it. If we drop one game, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Yes, it matters which game we drop, certainly. But if we drop at least one, it's not the biggest deal in the world. We can buy you a rest day before the travel days. And that's kind of how they're managing Jayson Tatum and going about. The fact that he's doubtful and missing a game, it's like there's definitely something going on with this injury right now. Now, they say it's only a bone bruise, which means, hey, great, it's not a fracture. But could there be, something with his ligaments in there? I don't really know. Like, obviously, we would hear something about a ligament tear, and we haven't heard anything about that. So that's great. But at the same time, the way in which Jayson Tatum has typically gone about his career, if he's healthy, he's playing. He's been a durable player throughout the entirety of his NBA career, and he's a consistent player. I point to within the point of people talk about load management. It's so rampant in the NBA. Yes, teams 100% strategically rest players more often than they used to. You look at some of the basketball reference page of some of the guys back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, like 82, 82, 82, 82, 82. And you're thinking, man, I don't know how like, they must have been injured or feeling sore for some of these games, because nowadays it's like most guys, it's like 75 games, you missed probably at least 7 games in there. Some guys, 79, 80. Like we'll have guys who make that mark, but most of the league, they miss 10 to 20 games in a season. Jayson Tatum, he's been the superstar who consistently plays upwards of 77, 78, 79 games. in a season, if not the whole thing, if he, when he was younger. And Jayson Tatum, he's always been a player I'd point to and go, look, if you want to talk about load management and stars in the league, you cannot talk about Jayson Tatum. There's a couple other stars like that, Jokic, Giannis. They always play as long as they're not injured, of course, which is a whole different issue other than load management. Jayson Tatum, he's typically a durable player. This moment right now, we're in the playoffs. We are in the playoffs. We're in the meat of the playoffs right now. We're starting, we're starting to eat the steak, but it's like, all right, it's starting to get a little juicy here in the middle. That's where the Celtics are. And this is the most important time of year. Jayson Tatum, he was in the regular season. He missed one game because of that ankle injury, and then boom, popped right back up. And that was a portion of the season that didn't matter as much as the early part of the season. And the Celtics, again, I already mentioned they were in the 2 seed. They needed to stay healthy and they needed to play well going to the playoffs. They didn't need Jayson Tatum out on the floor for the final 10 games, technically speaking. And from that standpoint, I see, well, Jayson Tatum, he plays through that injury, and it's seemingly not a bad injury because he misses one game, then he comes right back. Well, this wrist injury, is it going to be the same? Is he going to miss more time? Like, I feel like he could be more affected by this injury because of where the injury is I would what would be the most ideal scenario for the Celtics here is if Tatum injured his left wrist. So if he injured his left wrist, you're thinking, oh well, he might not be able to go left, like dribbling with his left, that could be an issue. But hey, he still has his finishing right. He still has his ability to shoot. He still has all that mobility within his dominant hand. Right now, his dominant hand doesn't seem to have that mobility, doesn't seem to have that strength. We'll see how it looks out on the floor when he gets out there again. But I thought near the end of that game, even though he hit clutch shots, initially when he sustained the injury, remember he went to the free throw line. Jayson Tatum shot 2 free throws, and both of them just looked totally off. Looked like he didn't have the strength in the wrist, didn't have the rhythm in that wrist, and he missed both of those free throws. And so moving into the future with Jayson Tatum, I do see this as a little like all the, like David, you said it perfectly. The red flags are popping up everywhere here, just with the media, with how the injury report has gone down with Jayson Tatum, going from X-ray to day to doubtful to likely out tonight. And the fact that this is the NBA playoffs, and we've seen him before in a regular season setting, if he's not injured, he's playing. He wants to play games. He wants to play big games in particular. And this is a moment right now, game 2 at the TD Garden, big game. All right, big as as much as we want to pick on the Magic, it's like, all right, if you don't win tonight, and if you're the Celtics and you don't win tonight, it's 1-1. It's 1-1. It's a best of 5 all of a sudden. It's a best of 5 series. And so this game is important tonight for the C's. And Jayson Tatum, he's not going to be playing in it. Like, he's doubtful. There's a chance he could play, but hey, I mean, they're doubt. It says doubtful, or we're going to doubt it. And from that perspective, it's I definitely I'm a little concerned with the severity of the injury right now. I'm hoping for round 2, of course, and I think everybody kind of might be looking at this. I mean, basketball fans in general too, just wanting to see stars out there. By round 2, hopefully, Jayson Tatum has turned the corner and he's entirely healthy and ready for that Knicks or Pistons series. And maybe this is just another iteration of what we saw in Sacramento and Phoenix and on the West Coast a month ago. Maybe that's what we're dealing with here. But I'll say, Jayson Tatum, he plays a lot, and this is a big game tonight. And if he's missing this game, something's wrong with Jayson Tatum. And that certainly, to me, brings up a little bit, the alarm bells, they're going off a little bit. I'm not hitting the panic button, all right? The hand was near the panic button back in January for this team. It's like we put that panic button away. We put it in the drawer. It's gone.
It's gone.
And we brought it back a little bit for Jaylen Brown, maybe Porzingis. We're like, maybe, just dabble with it a little bit. But otherwise, we put it away. Now, I'm just saying, I'm not bringing out the panic button, but depending on how long this goes about and what Jayson Tatum looks like in the next game he plays, that panic button, it's like, I don't want to get it out of the drawer, but these are the type of things that can derail playoff runs, and it's unfortunate that we're already talking about it after game 1. Like, it's such a bad spot. And I'll say this: people are saying this as well when it comes to this injury. It's like, oh, this is such a brutal spot. Oh, this is the worst case scenario. Obviously, it's not the most ideal scenario, losing your superstar in game 1 of the NBA playoffs, but some optimism here. It could have happened in the finals. Could have happened in the conference finals. Could have happened in the semifinals. Didn't happen in any of those rounds. Happened in round one. So for the schedule in which we had in front of ourselves, I think it happened at a fairly ideal time. Yes, you would like to see it happen. Maybe game 20 where he has 60 more games to rest. But at the same time, you have the situation which the Celtics are in right now. It's like you deal with what's in front of you. You deal with the present. The only thing lying in front of the Celtics right now, it's the playoffs. And considering the playoffs, it's like Jayson Tatum in injuring himself. And I know people, that statement, they'll say, well, it was KCP. But regardless, Jayson Tatum coming down on the floor, injuring his wrist in game one, that's a little bit more ideal than, say, Jayson Tatum and even this sustaining another injury in the conference finals or NBA finals, which would be even worse for the Celtics. So there's still some silver linings in this, but at the same time, alarm bells are going off. The way this is all going about rhythmically does not sit well with me right now. I mean, game one of the NBA playoffs, we're already talking about the Celtics' most important player not playing in game two and what his availability and ability will be like moving forward into the future. That is just not a great conversation to have, but it's one we have to have because we know how big Jayson Tatum is to the Celtics team. And we all know Jayson Tatum, he's going to have to be out there full force, fully healthy in order for the Celtics to go ahead and win back-to-back titles.
Yeah, I gotta Andrew, do you have anything else you want to say to finish off the Tatum take?
I'll just leave with the positive perspective. It's gonna be a hell of a story. It's just gonna add to the lore. It's just gonna be Celtics win and Tatum was injured. Nobody could stop us. That's what I'm gonna go with. So.
Yeah.
Brown 35-point night. We would love to see it again.
Yeah.
Now, see that would be great coming out of this injury is Tatum doesn't play. We're all questioning Brown's health. And then say Brown just goes out there tonight and just dominates. That would be.
He did just that back in December.
Right.
Yeah.
In that game that you talked about.
He's definitely hobbled by his knee, but I still think it's like I think he's healthy enough to have a big game. It's like we saw that against Phoenix a couple weeks ago. It's like he's hobbled in that game, still came out 31. I think I think Jaylen Brown, even though he's playing the top defense in the league, a really great rebounding team, I still think he has the ability to be great against this Magic team because if we're talking about pushing the pace, one of the best players in terms of doing that for the Celtics, it's Jaylen Brown. And Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, they do it well as well. But Jaylen Brown, he's certainly a catalyst within that category. So if he's given more opportunity, Jaylen Brown in this scenario, it's like that could actually be a pretty good thing for the Celtics as long as Jaylen Brown is, of course, healthy.
Yeah, and I do think it is obviously cause for concern, Tatum's injury. But, we do have to realize, in that Phoenix game when Tatum was injured and the Celtics, they stepped up. We have so many guys that have ability to score the ball and make an impact that, yes, obviously Tatum's injury is concerning, but, we do have to realize we got a very, very good roster that is led by a great coach and just a great coaching staff. So I still have full faith that we can find a way to pull out a win tonight.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to add on to Seamus's take. When he was injured back in that Sacramento game, you saw that Phoenix game, he was trying to come back and play that game. He was working out before the game. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think that obviously you changed my perspective on it. I was a little kind of on the fence because I'm like, come on, like this early. And Joe Mazzulla's reaction saying, hey, get up, come on. But like you changed my perspective on it, and I'm happy now. And I agree. I think he's obviously in pain, but he's gonna play through it. I don't know if he will tonight, as he's doubtful. It will honestly shock me if he doesn't play tonight, because Tatum's mindset, he always wants to play. You hear what he says, he's always available. So that will really shock me if he doesn't play tonight. But I do want to move on to game 2 if you guys are down with it. Like I said, we might wait till next week to do a podcast. It just happens to be this falls on a Wednesday, so it works out perfectly. But injury report for the Magic, Suggs and Mo Wagner out, obviously. Other than that, you have a healthy Magic team. For the Boston Celtics, the only injury on there is Jayson Tatum, and he's doubtful. But I'll start it off.
Like no Drew Peterson tonight. Couldn't see some. It's like every night it's G Leaguers, and it's usually two-way. That's the reason they're out. It's like
Yeah.
game 2 of the playoffs. Like, oh, who's the only person on the injury report? Oh yeah, only the Celtics' best player.
Yeah, it's like what? Come on. Like I'm disappointed to see Tatum there so early, but I think ultimately this is my take for game 2. I think the Boston Celtics need to come out there. With Tatum, I think you're gonna see him, like Seamus said earlier, give you kind of more so of a stat line of last game. I don't think he'll score a lot of points. I think he'll score even less points than last game. I think it's gonna be a weaker game for Tatum if you do see him play. However, I don't think he will play tonight. So I want to see the Celtics from the get-go step on that gas pedal. I want to see them do that till the very end of the game. I don't want the Magic to even have a sight of being in this game. I want a complete blowout. That would make me so happy.